Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to welcome you to our today's session, especially if you are interested in applying to graduate programs in engineering. You are in the right place. My name is Yana Ovcharenko, and I am an outreach coordinator here at Education USA Ukraine. Let me just remind you that Education USA is your official source on US higher education. So, today we are joined by Natasha Stanislas, the representative of Columbia University. She will walk us through key aspects of Columbia engineering, including university's mission, students' life, academics, application process, and career opportunities. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat box throughout the presentation, and Natasha will be answering them at the end of presentation. Okay, so let's get started. Natasha, over to you.
Thank you so much. It is an absolute pleasure to meet all of you and to provide you with some insights into Columbia engineering and graduate admissions in particular. We know now more than ever, being able to pursue your education is important. I think we've proven in so many different ways that coming together, learning best practices, pushing ourselves, being part of environments that are diverse are only all positives. And, you know, for myself, I'm born and raised in New York City, but my parents are not from the United States. And I've enjoyed being part of a very large melting pot. And I think, you know, one of the reasons why I remain in education is because of how amazingly just you're able to keep perspective and be optimistic about the future and the world around us and work towards the good. So I'm excited to present. I am so excited to be able to provide you with this insight and information. And again, the questions that come up, we'll be sure to answer throughout the presentation, but there may be opportunities for us to actually answer those questions at the end. So really quickly, I will just go ahead and cut to our overview. And so for the presentation, as shared, we will go over, of course, the mission and historical highlights of Columbia engineering. We'll also talk a little bit about Columbia today, some of the things that are happening on our campus. We'll go over some community resources, the things that we do to support our students and what makes us, of course, unique and amazing. And then we'll go over the application process. Of course, when it comes to the application process, I'm talking of Columbia engineering. Other schools might be similar, but other schools might also have differences along their requirements. So hopefully what I have to share is helpful for you, regardless of what graduate school or even college you're applying to. Maybe there's some tips, some tricks that you might be able to pick up, but if you're looking at other schools, be sure to make sure you understand their specific requirements along the way. But with that, I'll go ahead and get started in talking about the mission of Columbia Engineering. Since 1864, the Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Science at Columbia University has been a resource to the world for major advances in human progress. We center our mission statement on a phrase, engineering for humanity. That is our vision. And we work towards creating a humanity that is all the things we want it to be, using STEM, using engineering, applied science along the way to make those things happen. So I'll talk a little bit about how throughout history we've been able to do so. And so, of course, when it comes to our campus, for those, I don't assume everyone has heard of Columbia University, but you know we've done well for ourselves over the year. And so Columbia University was actually founded in 1754 as King's College. It's the oldest institution of higher learning in the state of New York and the fifth oldest in the United States. We have changed our name, of course. We are no longer King's College. Columbia doesn't do well with kings and those. We're very much for people and for having the opportunity to be as much of a collective as possible. And so a lot of the history of the university is tied with the very history of the United States and, of course, therefore the world. But prior to the school being founded, some of the earliest alumni at Columbia were pioneering entrepreneurs and engineers. So things like the development of the steam engine, the first steamships to navigate the open ocean, and the first steam locomotive. A lot of that's actually tied back to an alum, John Stevens, class of 1768. And then in 1864, what we refer to as the School of Mines was founded. But we want to just point out that from the very beginning, the international students have been a part of the makeup of Columbia engineering since the 1860s, which is amazing. And Columbia has a very long history rooted in New York City. We're not done innovating by any means. Our 17-acre Manhattanville campus features the new Jerome L. Green Science Center. It's home to the Zuckerman Mind Brain Behavior Institute, which brings together neuroscientists, engineers, psychologists, and scholars from across Columbia University. So we have expanded from our location initially in Lower Manhattan of New York City. We're now further uptown. We're kind of west of Harlem in the Morningside Heights area, and we've now also extended into Manhattanville. So if you haven't, had the opportunity to look at a map or kind of explore New York City, it's just amazing to see how the history of New York and the campus are intertwined. Okay, so I mentioned it before. Columbia, of course, is proud to have had international students for decades upon decades, but Columbia Engineering is actually home to a lot of the university and the country's first. So the School of Mines was the first of its kind in the United States. We had inventors like Nikola Tesla saying, we got to have places where we train the scientists of tomorrow, right? And that's what led to the founding of Columbia Engineering. As an aside, because I love history, fun fact, Barnard, the women's college that's affiliated with Columbia University, is also tied to a lot of these earlier efforts to make sure that there was a place and a space for as many people as possible to be able to study top-notch science, mathematics, and engineering. So a lot of it is tied to the same university president, Frederick Barnard. And so in 1886, Winifred Merrill actually became the first American woman to earn a PhD in mathematics of the School of Mines. And so that was part of creating this women's college in the city of New York to be able to make sure that there was a place and space for women. We also have engineers like James R. Priest, who was Columbia University's first graduate that was Black. And the global centers around the world for Columbia University, which are in Beijing, Paris, Mumbai, Istanbul. So much of that is being able to make sure that we are increasing our learning experiences and global engagement with Columbia students and alumni around the world. So I believe there's, I think, like 10 different global centers. So Columbia is a very global environment in a very global space in a very global city. And so in 1877, we actually have a photo here from the class of 1877. It actually includes students from Liberia and Brazil. And of course, since the 1890s, the Chinese government has actually sent students to America to study, and many of those students pursued their study first at Columbia, and that included the first Prime Minister of the Republic of China, and many businessmen, engineering, technology, and since then, you can imagine that the thousands upon thousands of international students have been welcomed to our campus. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the Columbia Engineering itself, which I know I've used a few different names, so I will clarify. We are Columbia Engineering. Our full name is the Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Science. And so the Fu Foundation is actually a foundation that was run by a benefactor, Z.Y. Fu, who actually very generously gave to Columbia Engineering. And that's why the full name of our school is the Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Science. We are no longer simply the School of Mines. As you can tell, we've had to, of course, expand as science has expanded. But you can refer to us as Columbia Engineering. That's totally fine. Our students may also refer to us as SEAS, which is the acronym for School of Engineering and Applied Science, right? So now you're a little bit in the know. You can also talk like a real Columbia student. And so often SEAS is the acronym used to refer to the School of Engineering. And so we may go by a few different names depending on exactly who you're speaking to, but everyone knows who Columbia Engineering is. We have, of course, expanded and changed over the years since the 1750s. Way back when, the School of Mines, when it first opened, was, I think, a student body of like 20 and a faculty of 3. Right now, we've got over 250 full-time faculty members. So this doesn't even include the academic faculty members that are adjuncts, that are working full-time in the field of engineering, that have their own ventures, that work for major companies. Our full-time faculty is over 250. We also have over 3,000 students, graduate students. That doesn't even include undergraduate students. We have 9 academic departments that I'll explore a little bit later, and we have 37 different funded institutes, centers, and initiatives, all that center around our mission, engineering for humanity. So a little bit deep into the history and lore, as you will, of Columbia Engineering. These are some of the many accomplishments that have come out of the School of Engineering. And that includes the invention of the FM radio, and the creation of short exposure X-rays, the mass production of antibiotics. There are so many things that have really come out of Columbia Engineering. That being said, I like to point to the ways that the past impacts our future. So on this side, there's Herman Hollerith, who's the father of modern automatic computation. So what he did as part of the class of 1879, he described a punch card system as part of his dissertation, his doctoral thesis, I believe, to count and sort mechanically punch cards for the US Census. How can we make it faster? How can we make it more accurate? And how can we make it mechanical? He then became a founder of the tabulating machine company, which would later become IBM. So several decades later, IBM has established a scientific computing lab at Columbia. Of course, it's a major company. There's the Columbia IBM Center for Blockchain and Data Transparency. There are all sort of different ways that, again, the past has informed the future and have connected the way that our former faculty, students, alumni interact with the scientific world today. So we'll go ahead and start talking a little bit more about, again, what faculty and students have been up to. Try not to speak too fast as a New Yorker, but we have, of course, been working with major universities in New York and Google to expand cybersecurity research, projects, training, and education. You can actually see here in the top, that's our dean, the dean of the school, Shifu Chang, the dean of Columbia Engineering. And, you know, building secure and trustworthy systems is crucial to realizing the promise of new technologies. So this is a $10 billion cybersecurity initiative that Google announced in 2021. Moving on, we have a new program, one of our newest, in Master's of Science in Quantum Science and Technology. This is for students that are highly motivated, that want to broaden their knowledge in this emerging field. And so it's students in both the fundamentals and most advanced cutting edge developments in quantum science, quantum computing, and quantum information. Together with the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, Columbia Engineering is really proud to offer this new program. We also have, for those who are interested in business, I think it's really important to think about the ways that you can optimize your time as a student. So we actually created a dual degree program with the Business School at Columbia University, amazing business school in the United States. So if you wanted both degrees, an MBA as well as a Master's of Science in engineering, instead of, you know, a particular discipline, you can actually get both in less than 2 years. And there's also financial aid available for that. So if you've got work experience, if you're looking for a way to be able to start your own venture or to be able to bring on some management expertise to the field of engineering and applied science, you're able to work on core engineering skills and foundational business skills as well. All right, and can't help but talk about an alum. We have an alumnus, Lonnie Smoot, who's actually been elected to the National Inventors Hall of Fame. He has 106 patents and counting to his name. He's also the first Disney employee since Walt himself to be inducted to the National Inventors Hall of Fame. And so there are some inventions, if you're a Disney fan as myself, that you might be familiar with. If you're familiar with the Haunted Mansion, Madame Leota, that is his work, how she goes through, how she floats in the ride, her crystal ball, the water harps that are at Epcot. There's also lightsabers that react in real time and make sounds and lights. Like all of that is Lonnie Smith. So that's something that we like to, of course, share and brag about our alums and, how our faculty have been working. In the interest of time, with the many questions we have, I will also encourage you to check out our website for so many other news stories and things that are happening on our campus. But I'll just cut to a little bit of information about the Columbia Startup Fellows. So in addition to, of course, the scientific discoveries in the classroom, out the classroom, we also have programs that really support advancements. And so being able to have a Startup Fellows program, which allows early stage startups to conduct product-oriented research and development, is crucial for accelerating innovation in climate, energy, infrastructure, and materials. And so this is a $10 million grant making and accelerator program that helps students scale technologies focused on carbon capture, storage related technologies, turning carbon into useful products. And as I mentioned before, we're really focused and driven by our mission. And so Columbia Engineering for Humanity is focused in 5 ways. It's creating a humanity that is sustainable, healthy, secure, connected, and creative. And so we do this by supporting initiatives in artificial intelligence, data science, sensing, visualization, modeling, materials, nanoscience, robotics. Hopefully all of this sound like amazing STEM things that you want to study at Columbia Engineering. We also, of course, have, I mentioned, many centers that are part of the university. We also have centers that are housed within Columbia Engineering themselves. So the phrase even climate change and has been, I think, attributed to Columbia faculty members and their research, but there's so many interdisciplinary ways to interact with faculty, not just on our campus, but also, again, around the world through the Columbia Global Centers. And on this slide in the center, we have a faculty member, Dr. Courtney Cogburn, who actually works with Columbia School of Social Work. She's partnered with the Data Science Institute on a number of different research endeavors for understanding human behavior in the social environment. It is one of the many ways our campus works together in these scientific initiatives. So now we'll jump really quickly into talking a little bit more about our community and resources, because I do see the questions coming through. This is a little bit about our faculty. Of course, we have a lot more faculty than diligence, but we're really proud of the faculty and students that make up Columbia. They are a creative, diverse, and innovative population. New York City is diverse, and we want our student body and faculty to represent and reflect the talent that exists around the world. This is a short list in very tiny font of some of the recent awards our faculty have won across our 9 academic departments. This includes 30 National Academy of Engineering, Science, Medicine, Inventors, American Academy of Arts and Sciences members, 27 National Science Foundation Career Award winners in the last 5 years. There are so many different accolades our students and faculty have won. We could talk for days, but we did want to, of course, point out that, again, faculty are active and are leading in their fields. We also, of course, have a very worldwide network, but a little bit more about some of the faculty that we have. If you're familiar with Professor Eliza Kanafagu and her work with imaging and radiology. She is an elected National Academy of Medicine member, one of the highest honors in the fields of health and medicine. We also have a faculty member, Nanfang Yu, who has, of course, won an award recently for really exploring the optical properties and nanostructures in the wings of butterflies and moths. So a lot of interesting and niche projects that are happening. Our alumni network is quite broad. Columbia Engineering alumni alone are over 51,000, but as you can see, there are a lot of Columbia alumni, 365,000. And so to be able to have a network that is this wide means that if you decide to work in, it's quite honest, especially in this global day and age, students might go to one country to study, another country to work, might build a venture in their home country. This is a very global world we live in. And so to be able to have a network that exists in this way is to your benefit as a professional and an academic. A deep dive into some of our alumni stories. We do have some alumni that have done some amazing things. Again, I talked about Lady Spirit, one of my faves. Another one, we have Ursula Burns, who graduated with a mechanical engineering. She went on to become a CEO of Xerox, was also a founding member of a nonprofit program created to boost STEM education that worked with the Obama administration in 2010. Mike Massimino is on the slide, just saw him the other day. Seems like he's doing great. Graduated from industrial engineering and went on to become an astronaut at NASA. He's now a professor of mechanical engineering. He spearheads our Columbia Space Initiative. There's also, of course, a new aerospace minor that he's just launched and created. So we'll see if an aerospace master's program is on the horizon as well. But there are a lot of alumni, old and new, that have done some incredible things. So we'll also look into some alumni that are maybe a little bit more recent. We have Jeremy Yao, who's created Changing Room, which is a startup that helps individuals shop sustainably by creating an internet browser that kind of tracks, a little bit more about the sustainability of what they're buying. We also have this slide, Nicole Moskowitz, who developed a handheld device designed to eliminate the guesswork of spinal punctures. Just really incredible and innovative work. And a lot of this is because of how we structure the classroom. We've got a really diverse set of ways classes are taught. And so there's some new teaching and learning styles, including flipped classrooms, that are introduced. There's also a lot of experimentation with online education and technology. We have an online campus, actually, because we have students that study through distant learning. They either pursue certificates or one-off classes or entire degrees from around the US and the world. And we really have students experience experiential learning through project-based education, lab-based education, and various maker spaces. And so we want to make sure that there is a culture of creativity and innovation. And so we have to make sure that as a school, and of course as a university, that we create spaces where students are able to conduct translational research, or, if they want support in creating their own business or trying out a business idea or finding people to work with, that they have that at their fingertips on our campus. And so a few examples are, really the environments, the different funding opportunities, and the various events we have. So we can just go ahead and dive right into some of those that exist. We have Columbia Startup Labs. So this is our way of creating programming and social events and guidance for students that are interested in creating their own business. You have this resource as a student. You also have this resource during your lifetime as an alum. You're able to also work through the makerspace, where there's so many different tools that students and makers and creatives can use, everything from like an aquajet or a 3D printer, to be able to have that just downstairs in the building of your school for your use is incredible. There's also the design studio for entrepreneurship, which uses human-centered design to teach an approach to gaining customer insights. They teach courses, they have sessions, classes, seminars, all so that we are able to have this ecosystem of entrepreneurship for those interested. And over the past 10 years alone, we've had over 400 issued US patents and over 55 startups from students and alumni supported by these endeavors and initiatives. And a big part of this is because we are in New York City. I would say we're one of the greatest cities in the world. Of course, there are several, but New York City, of course, attracts talent from around the world. And so you have major industry hubs that are located here. So that's why, there's the old expression, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Students come to our program, they come to Columbia so that they are able to amass a set of skills, create their network, and also have credentials that they can take with them anywhere. Again, there are students who love New York and they use it as, honestly, a study abroad experience so that, they enjoy their time while they're here, a good, maybe 2 years, and maybe even work a bit afterwards. And then they are focused as ever on their global venture, or going to their home countries, or exploring a completely new city and country, right? And because they are able to study in a place like New York, they're able to form connections that expand everywhere, right? So this is a great kind of centralized way to have resources, again, that you can utilize to, meet all sorts of people and take advantage of all sorts of resources. Again, I'm a big fan of the University of New York. Our public school system has students that speak languages from, I think, almost all around the world. There's so many different groups and populations, especially when you expand outside of campus gates. And so this also helps us attract world-class university and faculty resources as well, that there's so many people that are really interested in being able to be somewhere where they can be their best. And so I'll talk a little bit more about our actual graduate programs themselves. I did give a few shout outs to some of them, but we'll talk a little bit more about what we have as part of the School of Engineering. This is a big picture view of our disciplines. So we have, as a university, Columbia University, they give out the degrees, right? They're there for the graduation ceremony that we have as a school. But the university houses various schools throughout it's the campus. We are one of those schools, and within our school, we have various departments that have programs. So that's kind of a bit of the structure in case you're curious or interested in kind of how universities work. So you might be interested in a program like computer engineering. Computer engineering is a program within our department. It's actually shared with electrical engineering and computer science. That department is within Columbia Engineering, which is part of Columbia University. So a little bit more detail about each of those programs and departments. We have applied physics and applied mathematics. That's one of our departments. They host programs in applied physics, applied math, material science, and medical physics. We also have biomedical engineering and chemical engineering, which offer programs in their department's namesake as well. We have civil engineering and engineering mechanics, which offers civil engineering, engineering mechanics, I believe construction management as well. Computer science has really uniquely not only computer science, but also a special bridge program for those who may be US citizens, might be permanent residents, might not necessarily need a visa, but would like to take classes to prepare themselves for a master's in computer science. Of course, earth and environmental engineering also has carbon management, as well as there's now a new climate science and society dual degree with the climate school that's being offered. Electrical engineering, quantum science, computer engineering. Hopefully these are all sounding like things you're excited and interested in studying. I will say our biggest department is IEOR, Industrial Engineering and Operations Research. They not only have the most students, they also have the most programs, some of which we partner with the business school for, like business analytics, and of course, mechanical engineering. And we worked with other parts of the university, as I said, for programs like business analytics, but we have dual degree programs. We mentioned the MBA and executive MS in engineering and applied science. We also have dual programs with our medical school. So if you are soon to be or pursuing an MD and also want a biomedical engineering degree, we can support those endeavors as well. There's a computer science and journalism program. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but we also have a data science program. We don't have a data science department, but we have a data science institute. So they have their own research. They also have their own faculty, and they conduct one of the top data science programs. And so they're very selective. It's a great opportunity to also study at Columbia Engineering. And it looks like we've got additional slides that are pulling through. And so I will just go ahead and skip to talking a little bit more about our various resources in engineering, student affairs. There we go. So how we support students through the academic programs and all their various academic interests and all the resources they want to take advantage of. We have a student affairs team. And so they help you for the entire duration of your time as a student, and then beyond. They will, of course, connect you with alumni resources. And so we want to make sure that every single opportunity you have to be the best student you can be, that you can take those opportunities. So whether it's finding housing, thinking of enrolling, student life, wellness, these are just the engineering resources. I'll also make a point to talk about the International Students and Scholars Office, which is a university-wide resource that we also connect students to as well. So first, very importantly, we like to talk about employment and professional development. That's important to us as a grad school. We know that, of course, as a master's, many students pursuing masters, some might pursue doctoral programs. Your lifetime as a professional, your lifetime in your career, it benefits from having the opportunity to not only have resources that help your development, but also from the time you take to really develop your goals and to pursue skills that help you stand out in the job markets around the world. So it's one of the most valuable offerings that Engineering Student Affairs has. So professional development and career placement, these are two sides of the same coin. We're making sure that you have the professional development, the skills, the training, the network, the opportunities to connect with folks, while also having the coaching and the staff around as an ecosystem to support you. So it actually starts when the program starts. Even before the program technically starts, because I think we're having PDL, professional development and leadership sessions this summer for students who start in late August. So they're getting ready to talk about here this educational side, where you think about your tools necessary. You make an appointment with them. They go over each of your goals, and they kind of keep you on track throughout your time as a student. And you start working with them so that they know what you're looking for. And we immediately start over the summer, resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, and talk about professional ethics and communication. I think there's also a leadership in crisis session that's coming up in a few weeks for students who, again, haven't even started yet, and these are resources that we're giving them. We also have then for doctoral students, we have Engineering Your Doctorate, where you spend a week with the graduate career placement team talking about similar things like ethics, your written and verbal communication, and preparing you for what it's like to be a professional graduate student. We also then have events in different opportunities at the school and department level, where you get to put the skills that you develop into practice. You have opportunities to meet students, alumni, industry contacts, and being able to build your network and a deeper opportunity to just understand what options exist after graduating. And then you have your graduate career coaches, some of your future best friends. Each program we have has a dedicated career coach. They work with individual students. They're actually all either professionals in the fields of engineering and applied science, or career development professionals that have extensive experience in human resources and getting students hired and understanding the field that they're working with, and they work very closely with your academic department. And then, of course, we have 24/7 resources students can access, like a trained AI system that can give resume feedback. And so we don't want students working in the middle of the night, but maybe, it's late at night and you realize, I just want to fine tune my resume. You can get feedback from the AI system, and then during normal business hours, a career coach can get back to you and give you a more person-to-person response as well. And so this is, again, our part in making sure that from even before you start as a student, you're thinking about what you want to take advantage of in graduate school, which is so important. Graduate school in particular is such a experiential experience. You have to experience it in order to understand what it's like to be in it. And it's all about being able to reach towards self-actualization. So if you have this goal to be the best you can be, to pursue engineering, to learn these skills, we want to be able to support you in that regard. And we want to make sure that the support is consistent and available. And that's what these colleagues do. And so a little bit more about professional development and leadership. These are their goals. These are some of the helpful faces, including 2 different academic deans who have graduated from Columbia Engineering, have been part of the community for years, have gone on to work outside of Columbia, and came right back to support students. And so it is really important for us, again, to make sure students are thinking of the full sense of what it is to be a professional and to have those experiences and skills available. And again, a part of that is being happy and healthy. I love that they put that there. Writing effectively, your social media presence, being ethical, having a polished resume, all of those things available to you. And so these are over 70 different, I think, topics that they've had free sessions on. This is all included as part of your time as a student, that you have free sessions you can take advantage of, where you can learn things like technical skills, like maybe you want to polish your Python skills, or think about data visualization. Maybe you're sprucing up some of your more technical and coding language skills, but maybe you also want to work more on your verbal and written communication in formal and informal settings. Maybe you want to talk a little bit more about soft skills that will help you be a valuable leader in the workplace, right? And so having all of these sessions available to students, one, it shows that the school really values it, but also two, for you as a student, you want to make sure that you can take advantage as much as possible outside of even what's required of you. And I'll go ahead and jump right to some of the companies, some truly of the companies that our students are going to after graduation. What I love about this list is that it is current. It is currently where students are working as interns. It is currently places that are also giving career talks to our students and are coming to our career fairs, and it's currently where alumni are going to work full time. So in order for them to be on this slide, they are all of those things, not one or something else. And this is how we have a connection and a relationship really with so many different companies, is that we have this constant feedback loop of students going there, becoming full-time employees, coming back to recruit more students. And so it's great to be able, again, to just take advantage of all the different companies that exist and are headquartered in New York. And really quickly, you can actually learn a little bit more about them yourselves. You can go directly to the professional development and leadership website or the career website and just get a sense of the resources and the events that are happening now. I do see questions coming in, and I know I can talk a little bit fast as a New Yorker, but I do want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about student life. But at any point, if you have follow-up questions about how to learn more about careers at Columbia Engineering, you can always let me know. But I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about student life. We have dozens upon dozens of student organizations as a graduate school, and then you have other university organizations you can participate in. They collaborate with one another. Student life is so important. You are a full human being. You are not just going to the classroom and going home like a robot. You have to make sure you take time to build community, and I think that's one of the things that makes Columbia Engineering so unique. We really do value and push for ways to go to conferences together. I see like there's a painting class that's offered, or like painting sessions and days that we just have opportunities to go explore and experience New York as a group. And so it actually is part of orientation. We will take you to the US Open. We will take you to see the Statue of Liberty. We will take you to, we have major basketball, baseball stadiums nearby. We also, we technically have hockey. There's football, or I should say, there's both American football, but also football in terms of soccer. All these stadiums that are right subway ride, or maybe a short bus ride, or even a taxi ride away. And so having these opportunities where we pay for students to go, or we discount it for students. Maybe you're interested in Broadway productions. Maybe you've always wanted to see a musical on Broadway or show. We not only have ways that you might be able to do it for free or discounted, we might even take you there ourselves. And so this is all about experiencing the culture of New York City, and being able to have these experiences. And so now, last but not least, I will talk about the actual application process. I think it seems like there are students who are certainly interested in learning more about how to actually become a student. Fair, that's the point of the presentation. And so when it comes to the application process, it's important to know your deadlines. Now, technically speaking, this could change from admissions year to admissions year. We might change the deadlines. I don't think we're going to change them in September, but it is good to double check, right? For all I know, maybe this is the year where all the departments decide to go on one accord and have the same deadline. Again, I doubt it, but we have the same deadline for those applying for spring entry. It is a tight turnaround. The application comes out every year at the end of August, early September, and then the deadline is October 15th. That's if you're applying for a PhD program. That's if you're applying for a master's program. Not too many students apply for spring entry. Usually it's career changers. Usually it's students who maybe didn't have enough time to apply for the fall, whatever the reason. If your program accepts students in the spring, you're welcome to go for it. For fall entry, for PhD students, or for students who don't have a master's and would like a PhD. That's what the MS-PhD is. You can apply by December 15th. And then for our Masters of Science programs, the actual deadlines range from January 15th to February 15th, depending on which program. So once you enter our process, once you open an application, once you reach out to our office, once you say you're interested, we will guide you through, but you can also find this information on your own on the website. It is really important to find the relevant information for your program. And what I will say is that we do technically admit on a rolling basis, which means that, of course, there's an advantage to applying sooner than later, earlier, right, when there's more spots available. But we do accept students and applications after the deadlines. The further away from the deadlines, the less likely that program has spots and the more likely you should apply the following year. There's also, of course, a number of academic and application requirements to consider. So I'll just go ahead and jump right into talking about testing. The GRE is optional for 2025. It was also optional for the last few years. It's one of those things that I would say as an admissions professional, I'm hoping it remains optional. I love being able to give students that flexibility. So why would you take the GRE? Well, the GRE might connect you with schools you didn't consider before, if you did particularly well. It gives you a little bit more, I would say, leverage in admissions situations to have just another data point that shows why you're such an amazing student and why schools should work to admit you. And it will give you, ideally, some insight into your readiness for graduate school. That being said, we know standardized testing is not 100% perfect. We also know that we all have personal lives. There are things happening where we may not be able to dedicate standalone time to study for the test. So what does optional mean? Optional means that you are not at a disadvantage for not submitting a score. But there is an advantage to submitting a good score. So you want to use use your logic for what works best for you. If you sit for the exam and your score is just the top of the percentile, especially in the quant, you can't help but brag about it. You would add a sticker to your forehead with your score if you could. You just love your score so much. By all means, include it with your applications. If you look at your score and you see, well, I didn't do that well compared to other test takers, I didn't have that much time to study, I'm not sure if I'm actually that proud of the score, nobody needs to see it. It's totally fine. It's not a secret requirement where we want you to submit it. It's not submitting it that matters. It's the quality of the score that matters. So I do want you to keep that in mind. Now for the TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, PTE academic score, these are all English proficiency exams. How Columbia Engineering handles it is that Columbia Engineering does not require English proficiency exams, not based on citizenship, based on where you studied in undergrad. So depending on what country you pursued your undergraduate education, if you did not study in Australia, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, Singapore, the United Kingdom, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and the United States, you may be required to submit an English proficiency exam for your admissions process. Now, personally, sometimes students get nervous about this, but there is a method to the madness, as we say. There is a reason why we ask for these scores. It's because we want to make sure that you're thinking about your written, your reading, your speaking skills, your ability to communicate effectively. Some students do take the exam and realize maybe I do need to practice a little bit more, and maybe I didn't think about what it would be like to navigate the world, being able to being in New York, and also maybe I want to fine tune some skills. We actually have free communication services for our students where we actually assist them with even if it's just practicing public speaking, all under professional development and leadership. But for as an applicant, if it's required of you, you definitely want to make sure you submit it. And what I will say, we have been known to add some additional countries to this list. So know that behind the scenes, we are advocating for students. We're advocating for students who've studied in certain countries to increase the amount of students who may not need to submit TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo or PTE scores. But in this day and age, students aren't able to take these exams at home. We fully accept those scores. We don't treat them any differently. And there are many students who take the exams and realize that they have maybe additional skills they might want to work on before they apply, or even during the admissions process. Now, we do have an online application and an application fee. Columbia Engineering has a fee waiver process that you start once you open your application. So we are known for giving fee waivers. We're also known for giving fee waivers for event attendance. So if you are able to meet with us for any of our information sessions or our workshops, don't be surprised if you're gifted a fee waiver for attending, because we'd love to be able to just give students a little extra motivation to pursue graduate school. We do need all university transcripts. If for any reason you think there's an issue in giving us your transcripts, you are able to let us know, because we know there's a lot of circumstances in the world today. We need academic reference letters. We ask for a resume or CV and a personal statement. And if you're applying to a Master's of Science program, there's a video interview. We actually have an application workshop where we go about this in detail about how every component of this works. So if you share your information with us, we'll be sure to be able to let you know when we have those events. But the video interview, we give you 3 random questions. The questions are not random to us, they're random to you. And we just want to know more. We want to know what your favorite color is. Do you like the beach or do you like the mountain? What's your favorite book? What's a movie you saw recently that you loved? Why Columbia Engineering? Why electrical engineering? What motivates you every day? The questions are kind of general behavioral questions you should expect in an interview or someone trying to get to know you. So that's certainly my advice. Little bit about financial aid and financial planning. You can certainly learn a little bit more from the QR code. We can also, of course, as you go through the admissions process, we share additional info. The Masters of Science students are primarily self-funded. That means you need to take an action to make sure that there's funding available. Either you're saving, either you're taking out loans, or you're applying to scholarships. Masters of Science programs are mostly self-funded. There's funding opportunities like the GEM Fellowship. There are also, I think, sometimes opportunities for students to work on campus, to be a teaching assistant, to be a research assistant. But for Masters of Science students, those are not guaranteed prior to enrollment. So as part of your academic journey, if you're thinking about grad school, no matter where in the world, it's never a bad day to apply for a scholarship. It's never a bad time. You want to pursue those opportunities. You also want to continue applying to those opportunities even as a student. What I will say for our MS, PhD, and PhD students, just to reiterate, the MS, PhD track at Columbia Engineering is for those who do not have a master's but would like a PhD in engineering. What we actually do for all of our PhD students, which you would be one of, you're fully funded through either your teaching or your research. That includes a stipend, that includes your tuition, your health insurance, and facilities fees. So we actually talk a little bit, again, more in depth during the admissions process about what the difference is between these programs, why you would apply to a master's versus a PhD, but know that there's also a major difference in how they're funded, and you want to take that into account as part of planning your academic journey. And this is some additional information about some funding opportunities. Again, there are some part-time academic positions that are open that you can consider. There's also various fellowships that we provide. Fellowships are not guaranteed. And so external funding opportunities, even as an international student or from a student from around the world, you want to be able to seek out the foundations, the companies, even the governments that give additional aid to provide for students. And so we do share those to our prospective students as they come up. So it is important to join our listserv, our application kind of page to learn more as much as possible. And a little bit about ISSO. ISSO stands for International Students and Scholars Office, and they provide services not just to Columbia Engineering, to all international students throughout Columbia University. This is an office that has existed likely for decades. They are the trained immigration law professionals. They are also advocates for students. They also support student life for students. And so these are some of the things that they support students with doing: learning more about the I-20 process, applying for a student visa, understanding the CPT and OPT process, finding your tax forms if necessary, understanding visa and travel information. You can actually go to their website now and find additional details and support about how like ISSO is able to support students. Again, they're very good at what they do, and for decades they have been supporting individuals in the process, as needed. And so this is something that even for us as staff, we are using. ISSO has been having immigration legal experts speak to staff, I think, 2 to 3 times a month, even if you're not necessarily in an immigration law position on campus, just providing additional assistance and resources so that we're able to be in a space where we are as informed as possible and able to support students as much as possible. And so when it comes to, of course, this current day and age, we completely understand that there are a number of visa concerns. We completely feel for students and are also in the same position. And there are many of professionals that work on Columbia that also have concerns as well with what is happening in the United States. What I will say is that we understand those concerns, and we remain hopeful that students will be able to secure their visas in time to join us for fall 2025 and beyond. We actually have worked really hard to get students to get their visa appointments months ago. So we have actually been very proactive because of the advice of our ISSO team. And we are also, making sure that there are steps that students know that they can still take to be in the best possible position for once appointments resume. We've been told that there should be an update by the end of this week, and we are absolutely keeping track of all of this. But if there should be any experience and delays when it comes to visas, not just now, at any point of your academic journey, Columbia Engineering actively has a number of accommodations in place for students to be able to either on an individual basis or for students of a particular country provide resources. So we actually are working behind the scenes to come up with a number of different contingency plans. And so it is important, I think, for us to share and to be very clear that in the face of things that are unknown, there are staff members, there are faculty that genuinely care and are working hard to make sure students are supported. And I think sometimes it can feel like it's a large university, a large institution, and there aren't clear answers. Honestly, there aren't that clear answers for me either. But what I can say is I know that there are people who are working as hard as possible. Columbia University is actually older than the United States. So before there was an accreditation process, before there was a president of the United States, there was a president of Columbia University. So we do take pride in that history and being able to, both have had this amazing longevity. And unfortunately, should anything happen to our university or any of the amazing universities throughout the United States, it impacts a lot more than just the educational landscape. Our students, our alumni are some of the most talented, the most amazing teachers, professors, doctors, lawyers, professionals across the globe. And so we absolutely stand in support of students. We completely understand that students have a number of high level concerns. And so we want to make sure that students are at least aware that we know it's stressful. And even for, myself as a professional, every once in a while I'm in the office with my colleagues and I just think, I have never used the word unprecedented as much as I have this week. And then something else happens and I hear myself saying, this is unprecedented. But what I can say, having been a professional that's worked at Columbia since now, I think over 12, 13 years now, I've been with Columbia, I've worked in different schools on campus, is that the more I find myself saying, wow, what's going on in the world has never happened, the more I'm amazed by how Columbia University comes together to support its students. So I do want to share that with you. I know that there's sometimes things that are happening on a personal level, maybe in your city, maybe in your country, maybe in your region, maybe around the world. But what I have said and seen time after time is that there's an amazing way that students not only come together and take care of each other, but also the ways that staff and faculty are able to assist them in that regard. And so what I'll do before I close and before I, of course, am pointed to any particular questions, this QR code better work. It should take you to where you're able to stay connected with us and find out additional information, any updates on how to learn more about us virtually, how to visit us. I'm saying fingers crossed. I'm hoping to be able to one day recruit in Ukraine. I'm hoping to be able to fly out there and to meet students. I will say offline, I've had many a conversation about a pierogi. I need to go. I need to see this for myself and experience the amazing culture that is Ukraine for myself. But we know that, there's so many moving pieces to the admissions process, even financial aid, of course, concerns. Reach out by email, send us an email. We just love to help. We love to be able to provide you with insights. But again, my name is Natasha Stanislas. If I'm not answering the email, it's one of my amazing colleagues. You also have amazing support in EdUSA and being able to learn more about studying around not just the world, but in America, there is still something for us to offer you. And so I think it's important for you to reach out with those questions. If you have a wonder about something, the same way you would research that scientifically, you want to take the time to research that for yourself and for your future. And so I hope that's helpful. I hope that this has been a presentation that's informed you, not just about the university and engineering, but a little bit about the workings of the type of resources we provide students and what to look out for. But again, if there's any additional questions in the chat, I'm more than happy to help.
Sometimes it happens that my mic doesn't work. I hope now it's okay. So once again, thank you so much for such a great presentation. To be honest, your way of sharing info about the university, the students, the faculty, truly warms my heart. It was a very big pleasure to see such a dedication to the place where you work at. And I hope that our students feel inspired now to study at Columbia Engineering, because I believe that it is truly inspiring to study at the place where so many incredible, remarkable people have studied and worked, and where there are so many opportunities to study, grow, and develop. Because during the presentation, we have heard about different amazing opportunities there. So once again, thank you so much for the presentation. We were really honored to have you as our speaker. And on behalf of Education USA Ukraine team, I want to say that you are always welcome here in KU. I think that we can make a great collaboration and to help our Ukrainian students to reach their goals in the US. Guys, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. We still have a few minutes to answer some of them, but please make sure these questions are appropriate. And I have one more question just to clarify. Natasha, you have mentioned that sometimes it's not necessary to have English proficiency result test. I want to clarify, does it depend only on the country where you have been studying, or maybe on the program? Because I know that some Ukrainian students have opportunity to study in Ukraine on the programs that are completely in English, and some of Ukrainian students they sometimes get their degree in European universities where programs are also in English. So could it be a case when you don't need to take a test?
That is a great question, and I'm sorry there seems to be a bit of feedback. I'm not sure if it's just my mic, so I hope I heard it correctly. The question was about being able to pursue, or whether or not it was required to take the English proficiency exams. For us, it is completely based on the country that you pursued your higher education in. So that can be an undergraduate degree. If you already have a master's, it could be that too. And so we have a list of countries. We've added a few countries last year. I'll be transparent in that a lot of this is research-based. So it's based on how many students we may have from a particular country or region and what we may find in terms of how well those students are performing in the classroom. We are also, we are a school of research. So we are connecting what we're seeing in the classroom, the grades that students are getting, their progress with the test scores they're coming in with. And so as of now, I believe Ukraine is one of the countries where if you pursued college, undergrad, your bachelor's degree in Ukraine, you would be asked to take the English proficiency exam. But if you're a Ukrainian citizen, but you studied in the United Kingdom or Ireland, then you would not have to take the English proficiency exam. But again, I'm saying this now, we have been known right as the application season starts, if you indicate a particular, like we will tell you if there's an update or a change to that, because we want to make sure that this is coming from a place of supporting students and preparing them as much as possible. And because we know students might have citizenship one place and of course have studied other places, that there is a specific list. And we also want to make sure that you've earned enough credits in a particular country as well, where you've shown that you really have a understanding and to communicate written, verbally, or listening, reading, that you can absolutely thrive here.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Yeah, it's clear now.
Yeah.
I see that for now we don't have any questions in the chat. So I think that we can finish our presentation for today. I absolutely sure that it was very useful for everyone who was with us and who will be watching in the recording. So once again, thank you so much. Let's be in touch, and I hope to see you one day in Kyiv. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you again.